Okay, I guess you enjoyed the review of chapter 1 to chapter 3. So in this concluded part of this first section of review, before we go into the last part on the section of the book, we'll be looking at chapter 3 to chapter 7. So I want you to just pay attention to the lessons and the key lessons that will be said, and also try to tie the knots as you read the book. Because the truth is, when a book is read by 20 different people, we get 20 different versions of that book. We don't all see things the same way, but the key principles and the key lessons are always intact. So just pay attention as we go ahead to look at chapter 4 of Upgrade Yourself. Welcome to January book review. Chapter 4, we're looking at improving your attitude. One of the reasons you have to improve your attitude is that in achieving the best in a year or achieving the best in your life, you cannot go anywhere with a flat attitude. And people with a flat attitude are usually people who don't take responsibility for their life. They feel that anything that happens in life is the fault of another person. So they don't take responsibility for their life. So in 2025, you would want to pay attention and be accountable for every action that you, or every result that you put out in your own life. So if something is happening in your life, the best attitude is to ask, what is the part or the role that I am playing, and why is this happening? So that if there is a role you're really playing that is making the bad results you're seeing in your life to happen, you can put a stop to it. But going around with a bad attitude eventually will lead you nowhere. Just like that saying that says that you can never go anywhere with a bad attitude, because it's like a flat tire. A flat tire leads you nowhere. So we're going into the reading. It says, your attitude, not your attitude, will determine your altitude. Not your aptitude will determine your altitude. You know, this is quote by Ziegler. It's one of the most popular motivational quotes. So along your belief, your attitude is one of the most important things you can cultivate in your life. Your belief, your attitude are largely determines the results of your life. So you have to ensure that your attitude is actually in check every time. Am I putting my best foot forward in this? Is my attitude displaying what I'm trying to imagine that I would be, or the results that I want? This attitude will give me the results that I want, because most often than not, people will respond to us with the same attitude we give to them. People mirror us half of the time. So Alice says, I was always laughing. We were lying on the floor with my son and he saw me laughing. How can a child not laugh when a mother laughs? So people mirror us. Sometimes you come into an environment and because you are sad, you just bring in that sad. But there are people, when they come into an environment, because they carry joy, because they carry grace, because they carry the spirit that allows others to pick up from where, from maybe a sad situation and then become happy. This set of persons light up the room when they enter into the room. I don't know the kind of person you want to be, but if you want to be a very successful person, check your attitude. It affects how the results, it influences your results. So choosing your attitude. In choosing your attitude, you have to pay attention to the fact that you have a right to choose your attitude. Sometimes people feel like they don't have a right. Whatever is happening is automatic, it's God's hand, it's in God's hand, and we just spiritualize everything and forget that we have a part to play in ensuring that we take responsibility for our attitude. It's the same thing that happened in the Garden of Eden, where the serpent, of course, Adam and Eve had blamed the serpent finally. The serpent had nobody to blame. Right? But because I don't want to go into all the implication of all that, but you see that after they did not take responsibility for whatever has happened, they had to go through a long circle for the redemption of man. So taking responsibility for your attitude is one part of changing your attitude, is one way to change your attitude. If you can't take responsibility for your attitude and your action, you will not be able to change it. So talking about how responsibility empowers you to make changes. The author says that you are where you are because of who you are. If you want to be somewhere else, you've got to change something, and that is you. So what are you going to change? Now, the author shares some critical mind searching points and says you can't improve your relationship if you believe everything is your partner's fault. You can't change your finances if you believe it's the result of the economy, political system, and something of that nature. And you can't overcome shyness if you believe it's who you are and refuse to admit that it is up to you to change it. So see what I mean that the author is talking about. See what he means. One thing you're going to do is to take responsibility. If you take responsibility for your life, all this other thing that you're giving excuses for, you see them turn around just easily. Because if you're having an issue, let's say with finances, and you keep on saying that it's the fault of the government did not do this, the day you wake up and decide that your finance is your responsibility to work on, that's the day your finance will improve. So take extra responsibility. What is my part to play in what is happening to me, right? There will be situations in which you may have no responsibility over. Yes, but the ones you have responsibility, try to ensure that you handle them completely and sincerely. One of your daily mantras that the author says you should take on with is, I'm in total control of my attitude all my times, and I enjoy taking responsibility for my life. I'm the creator of my existence. I love choosing the way I react to everything that happens to me. One of the things you must know is that you have the power to choose what happens to you, how you react to what happens to you. Rather, you have the power to be able to think in the direction of where you are headed, act in that direction. So when you discover that your attitude are not favoring you in direction to your goal and your vision, one of the things you can do is forgive yourself, but don't make the mistake to think that you are powerless and you can't influence it. This is 2025. And one of the things we must do while you read this book is to ensure that some of the lessons, no matter how tiny they are, you are applying them in attitude, changing your attitude. Remember, you have full responsibility and you can act correctly, given in any situation and in any time of the day.
We are currently on the 5th chapter, and the 5th chapter's title is on Turbocharging Your Vision. It starts with a beautiful quote. It says, the only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. Now, imagine with us, the writer and I, and then you, imagine with us that you went by a construction site and you found two men. They are laying blocks, they are bricklayers, they are laying blocks. And then you ask the first one, he says, I'm just laying blocks. And then you ask the second one, and he says, I'm building a magnificent structure. So the question is, are you just laying blocks, living for the sake of living, or are you building a magnificent, beautiful house? All right. You see, without a clear and compelling vision, you're just hanging around aimlessly and hoping for the best. It is your responsibility to upgrade your vision and stop pursuing half-baked goals that don't inspire you. The greatest regret anyone has in life is knowing that they could be more, but they are not more. So having unfulfilled potentials, and the greatest way to fulfill your potential is to have compelling visions and then breaking down into goals that you can now reach. You can now reach and then use as stepping stones to meeting with your vision. So the author here talked about listening to your inner voice as a means of getting that vision. So listening to your inner voice, then having goals that will challenge you. The real essence of goals is not so much as meeting targets. Well, it's about the kind of person you would have to become to meet those goals. I remember Les Brown said something interesting. He says, to do something you've never done before, you have to become something you've never been before. So that's the real essence of goals. They charge you into becoming something else, something radically different than you are in order to meet them. And you should have goals that challenge you. And the book also encourages us to not just solely focus on the how, just focus on getting the first step. Don't focus on the how, focus solely on the first step. And then, as Confucius said, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So your focus should primarily be on, getting started with the first step. And then discover your why. Discover your why. Do not buy into society's definition of success and then follow the head. Don't have a head mentality. You must discover your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is the why behind you? The how really becomes easy when you know the reason why. There's a book behind me, Simon Sinek. He wrote a beautiful book on Start with the Why. After that, you have to set crystal clear goals. There's no use setting ambiguous goals. There's no use setting goals that they are not necessarily measurable and defined. Your goals have to be crystal clear. Crystal clear, so that you can focus all of your energy towards the achieving of those goals. So one of the ways you can set crystal clear goals is by using the SMART method. So SMART is an acronym that stands for S stands for specific. Your goals have to be specific. M stands for measurable. They have to be measurable. A stands for achievable. There's no use setting a goal that you cannot necessarily achieve, because what happens when you do not achieve your goals is that you feel deflated, and then you're incapable of reaching out and then provoking your potentials to have more. R stands for relevant. Is the goal relevant to your vision? Does it align with your values? Time bound. T stands for time bound. Your goals must have a clear deadline behind them. Make them into tiny bits and then try to reach them as much as possible.
We're diving into chapter 6 and we're looking at improving your integrity. And in this chapter, you may think, okay, why should we look at integrity? Because we're looking at the beginning of the year, a book that will help us set the course for the year. And in the chapter of the book we're talking about it, why talk about it? The truth is, if you're not true to yourself, at the end of the year, you start regretting a lot of the decisions you have made. So this is a very vital chapter. And the author says that there are two parts of honesty that you should hold yourself accountable for. One is honesty with yourself, living a life that aligns with your core value and knowing deep down that you are doing what you should do. Then the second one is the honesty with people. This particular one is about treating people the way you want to be treated. Most often than not, the way we treat other people is not the way we want to be treated, right? But you have to learn to treat people the way you want to be treated. The reason is the way you mirror and treat people is also the way they will treat you back in the end. So these are two parts of honesty that you should keep. And you can't be telling people that this is how to treat people, this is how to treat me, whereas you are dishing out a negative side of you. What that also means is that you are lying to yourself, you are lying to your true values. So this particular chapter talks about how you can be honest with yourself. Now, in being honest with yourself, why it is vital is that it will affect the decisions you take. The way our temperaments affect the career choice, how we do things and all that. How, a choleric is born a leader, a sanguine is born a leader in a different light, a leader who carries people along, a cheerful leader, and somebody who also can influence a lot of things. But for a choleric, the choleric leads in a bossy kind of way, right? Then the phlegmatic, those people, you see them that they take on jobs like teaching, more relaxing, things like melancholy and all that. So your personality will affect the kind of job you eventually go into. That is how your core value will also affect the kind of job, the kind of engagement you will take on. Now, if your core value is being true to yourself, being authentically yourself, it will mean that you will not take on jobs that do not align with yourself. You're somebody who likes sales, for instance. You're somebody who likes to be, to market people's item. You don't like sitting in a place. Taking a secretariat job will almost be boring to you. You will complain at it and at every point in time. If you're somebody whose freedom matters to, taking a 9 to 5 job rather, will mean that you are almost you're lying to yourself, because you know very well you're going to complain. Yes, granted, people do those jobs for a particular season so that they can face what they want to face. But when you now take it on and it becomes like your life career, and you find that you are more stressed. So it's better you do things that align with your core value. So the author talked about all those things here and also mentioned some personality tests you can take. Those tests can be found online, right? So this personality test now allows you to know what kind of job, what kind of things that really incite you, your person, your purpose, so that you can focus on them. So being honest with others, maintaining integrity in a world that can be unethical isn't easy. And he gave us two situations here. In the first situation, you come into a supermarket, the cashier had overpaid you. It happens, right? In fact, it happened to me. So when I read this, I could easily relate. So the cashier overpays you. What do? Would you now decide, oh, this cashier is dumb, right? So let me just go with the money and wherever is my lucky day? Or would you rather just refund the one that was paid as an extra? In the second situation, you find a wallet with a lot of money. What would you do? Return the wallet without the money or return the wallet with the money? You know, most times we feel that, oh, it's my lucky break. God has done it for me. What of the other person you are defrauding? Because in the case of the cashier, when the records are set by the owner of the business and they found that they made the error, the cashier is made to pay that money. And most often than not, these people don't earn a lot. Right? Now, you have made somebody lose part of their earnings and their income just because you want to be greedy and keep a part of the money. In the other case too, nobody may see you, nobody may know that you even picked a wallet, but your conscience knows. So what you're doing to yourself, according to the author, is that you keep lying to yourself. And when you keep lying to yourself, one of the things you now develop is that you get to a point where you stop believing yourself. Because you are not true to yourself. You know you cannot keep certain principles you've already set for yourself. So integrity along with self-discipline is what will earn you the trust of those around you. So imagine if a customer trusted you so much that they continually bought your product for years or even decades to come. So this also allows you to have long-standing people, long-standing customer who would be in your brand, who will put their stakes for you. In the long term, integrity is a better strategy than cutting corners, as it earns you the respect of others. And we know how crucial connections are, both in business and our personal life. Sure, you can try to take shortcuts, but it is not sustainable. And that's the truth. Shortcuts are not sustainable. And there are people who will stake their claim on you to say, this particular person, I know who they are. I know that they cannot disappoint. And because of that referral alone, you can get better connection and you are better sustained at your business, your job, or your career because you are an honest person. Remember, the book always has a daily mantra at the end of each chapter that you should live by. Something you can adopt as your daily mantra. If you already have a daily mantra, it's okay. But if you can adopt what the daily mantras in Upgrade Yourself, it will also be lovely. So repeat the following mantra daily. I'm listening to my intuition. I trust my inner wisdom. I do what I feel is right for me, even if it is unpopular. I do what is right, what I feel right to me, even though it's unpopular. So do the right thing, even though it's unpopular. Fela Durotoye will always say, if you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. So what do you want to be, the solution or the problem? This is 2025 and we're setting the course by reading this book. Understand that being honest with yourself will allow you to make better decisions in this year 2025. I hope you choose to make better decision going forward just by reading this particular chapter. We'd love to get your feedback, so ensure that you drop in your comments in the comment section. Let's know how your reading is going and if you are enjoying the book.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 7th chapter. In this 7th chapter, the title of the 7th chapter is called Optimizing Your Environment. Your environments do matter. And that's why this chapter starts out with a quote. It says that you must be willing to destroy anything that is present in your life that is not excellent. The author tells a wonderful story of John Kefield's in John Canfield's book, The Success Principles. He wrote about another author called Ferris. Ferris, while he was young, had a conversation with someone, and towards the end of that conversation, the individual told him that you're an average of the top 5 people you spend your time with. That was a Jim Rohn's quote. And then he was obsessed with that quote, and then he went out, and then he has done so much with his life. That's Ferris, the individual who heard that quote. Environments do matter. The author also talked about a situation he experienced, a real life experience that he had. While he was in Japan, he was living with an individual who was starting out a company, and the discipline and how much motivation that individual had up on his own personal life. Then he went to France and then lived with his brother, and his brother was the video playing type. So you can see, and he was contrasting it, how living with his brother had tremendous impact on his productivity levels. Your environments do matter. It's why you must consciously put to death everything that is not stirring you up to achieving your goals. Anything that is not stirring you up to being excellent. Your successful friends or people who have achieved much in life, they have radically different habits from those who have not, you see. And then spending time with them would consciously or unconsciously cause you to begin to have similar habits to them. Those habits are what form their actions and then made them as successful as they are. And then you would consciously or unconsciously begin to absorb those habits. And that's why it's recommended, even down in the book by an author, Tony Robbins, that if you want to achieve something in life, go and find out the people who have achieved those things, consume their content, then you will absorb their mindset, and then you can take out the similar actions that they took that enabled them to achieve those goals. I'm sure you've been helped. I'm sure you've been transformed. I'm sure you've been upgraded.